Hello and welcome to August monthly newsletter. I'm Dr. Kevin, and because it's August, we are coming to the end of summer and we are looking at an upcoming school year. A school year which is not like any school year that we have seen within my memory, and probably in most, if not all, of your memories. With the pandemic and everything that's going on around it, the safety of our children, and the questions that are out there, and who should we believe? I write more about this in the article in this newsletter, but I want to talk about the cost of our children. The things that we do at the cost of our children. You know, it first started back in the 90s when I started working with ADD and ADHD. And I saw how quickly that many were willing to jump on the bandwagon. And if the school nurse or the teacher or the doctor said, medicate your child, then they medicated their child, whether it was the good choice or not, whether it was the right choice. Whether in many cases it turned out that the child didn't even have ADD or ADHD and had something completely else going on. But boy, that rush to the prescription pad could leave your head spinning. Parents were actually even being told back then that they were a bad parent if they didn't label and medicate their child so that they could have success. Well, unfortunately, the they wasn't referring to the child. It was referring to the success of the pharmaceutical companies and the medicated management of students, which was far easier to deal with than bright, creative, oftentimes high energy and very rambunctious children. Oh, we'll just drug them up and dumb them down. Sounds like a good solution to me. And back then I kept on asking the questions or pushing people to say, you know, do we really want to make our children laboratory rats and cash cows? I would see children would be brought to me by parents who wanted to look for a non-medicated choice. And sometimes they'd been put on 3, 4, 5 different medications to find the right one. And in turn, we would find the right understanding, the right way to approach the child, the right way to engage the child, and with a series of diet changes, supplementation, understanding, and a lot of attention and hard work, that child no longer needed medication. But the easy thing was to just medicate the child. Now this is a completely different situation we have going on here. Now we have a situation where there is a political tug of war going on about the mishandling of the pandemic. And whose fault was it? Of course, you know, many people are saying it was Trump and the administration's fault. Early denials, misinformation, suggesting and putting out a lot of things which did a lot of damage. And of course the administration says it was China's fault. And the circle goes round and round. But now we come back to the cost of the child. There is a push, for political reasons more than any, to put children back into the classroom. To have a win in the win column as we're coming up to an election year. I have talked to various teachers and school administrators and people involved in a number of different communities in my area and find that there are not solid, really safe plans. We recently had in Georgia that within the first week it was open, we got a video of how it looked like no precautions were being taken in a high school that had thousands of students. And in the first week, they had 9 positive cases and had to shut back down. Why the rush? Why the threat of the federal government is only going to give you money if you're a school that opens your classroom? When there is so little understanding yet of exactly what COVID-19 is and what it does. It keeps changing. The information keeps changing. People want to fault science because they come back and they say something different than they said 3 months ago. Well, that's because they have a better understanding now than they had 3 months ago. The way the symptoms show up. How easily can asymptomatic people pass it? But should we be making our children laboratory rats? Should we be throwing them back in a clearly unsafe environment that has not been well thought out, well educated, and is certainly not being funded for some political points, for some gain, to make a stand on whether this is a pandemic or whether it is just an attempt to be the downfall of the Trumpian empire and, the overthrow of the Emperor Trump. That's the only reason. They made all of this up. But, the increase, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children that have been diagnosed, the ones that have damage that will last their whole lifetime, and even ones who have died. They were just political punting vehicles if they're returned into a school system that is unsafe, unprepared, and has not thought it through, has not tested it well, has not really understood. Is there going to be a detrimental lag in American education? And does there have to be? Are there not other alternatives? And why are not people looking for them? But my question to you is, if you have a child, a grandchild, if you know a child, do you know any children? Go out and walk around. You'll see one. They may be a little messy, they might be a little loud, they might even be cute. Do you remember you were one? Are their lives so disposable for us to make some political points? In our enraged righteousness, are we going to let our children be the guinea pig and an altar of misinformation? Are we going to wait until suddenly we have a huge spike? Because it has not only gone rampant through the school systems, but then it goes home, and it goes to the parents and the grandparents, and then it hops back in the nursing homes. Why? Why would we do this? There are alternative ways. We are currently number 27th on the world stage for education. We've already screwed it up. And that can be a whole nother video. We won't get into it in this one. But before you rush for somebody else to throw their children back in a classroom, would you really do it if it was your child? Our president's not having his child go back into a classroom. That classroom is still closed because they, the school, determined it was unsafe. Isn't that who should be making the call? And shouldn't there be accountability of the safety that's in place? And shouldn't it happen in stages? Have we made our children's lives so disposable? Well, welcome to a new school year. Namaste.